Hi.
Hi, people.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody. Guess who's in the building? We have Tunde and Janie, who has a tech degree but could not figure out YouTube.
Sorry,
So,
sorry for the delay. We had
technical
yeah,
issues.
yeah. It's a
So
technical
YouTube decided
issues.
that today of all days is the day we're going to do African time and color people time. So we're scheduled to start at 11 or 5 p.m. if you're tuning in from Nigeria.
Yep.
But we had a little delay with our YouTube setup. So please forgive me, but forgive us. I'm
Yeah.
going to blame today's
Yeah.
fault.
Oh, okay. No
I
problem.
just have to blame somebody.
I'll take the blame. I'll take
But
it.
anyways,
That's fine.
thank you so much for your patience and still joining on this live today. I am so glad that this is finally happening.
Yep.
So I guess quickly, so hi everybody again. My name is Janie Booth and this is Janie of Canada, where you learn helpful tips and resources about navigating life in Canada as a professional, as an entrepreneur, a student, or a worker. Well, you just want to move here and chill.
Yeah.
So today on the channel, I have the honorable, you know how Nigerians be like, honorable,
Come on.
Tunde Omotoye, aka Tunde Tash.
Yep.
Guys, this has been a long time coming. I slid in Tunde's DMs in August of 2019, being like, we need to meet up. So I'm so blessed.
Thank you.
I'm grateful to have you today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. It's such an honor as well being on your YouTube vlog. And thanks to everyone for joining us wherever you are. I know there's some folks who are joining us from Canada as well.
Yes.
Thank you very much. It is an honor to have you.
Well, so people of God, where do we start? So I did ask that people send in questions before, so that we can ask Tunde about
Yep.
like his journey and
Yep.
how everything is just like, guys, I don't even know. I'm so overwhelmed. But I have some questions of my own that I'd like to ask Tunde. So I can't wait to get to it. By the way, you guys, show Tunde some love. This is the first time he's doing a video.
Oh yeah, it's the first time I'm being on a YouTube vlog or anything.
So
Janie practically pulled me from my cave, from outside my comfort zone. Well,
yes.
that's fine.
So it's funny because like if you live in Toronto, Tunde lives all the way in the East End.
Yeah.
I live all the way in the West End.
End, yeah.
And he's just like, oh, I have a family, there's a new kid. I'm like, I'm coming to your house. And we're making this happen. So we're
Yeah.
doing this for you. So I just want you to please like and tell your neighbor to wake up because this is happening.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So hi TT, thank you for joining in. So you can send in your questions, but I'd like to get in and start with this video by saying, Tunde, tell me if you had to rate your life over the past 5 years. So another fun fact is Tunde and I actually moved to Canada in the same year.
Yeah.
So you see, all the signs seem
5
to
years
say
ago.
this is happening.
Yeah, 5 years
So
ago.
if you had to rate your experience in Canada on the scale of 1 to 10 since you've been here, what would you give that?
I'll say 10. I'll just have to be honest. Yeah, I'll say 10. And, we're comparing with where I'm coming from, right? So I'll just say 10. Yes, the work-life balance, the standard of living, getting value for your money, getting value for what you pay for. There's a career trajectory.
Yep.
There's a growth that is there, right? So I'll really say 10 over 10, comparing to where I'm coming from.
Perfect. So if you're here today, we're going to split our questions in 3. So say you are looking to move to Canada, you don't know where to start.
Okay.
Like what should I do? I'm just like, okay, you've rated Canada 10, but
Yeah.
like where do I start and how do I come to Canada?
Okay.
Say you have already started the process, kudos to you. By the way, you're maybe now applying for your permanent residency or your student or work, you can't be a work permit or student application. And you're like, what is the first thing I need to know so that I can settle? That's another section.
Another section.
And now you are here in Canada, you've arrived, and there's this fear of, oh no, you've actually gotten your application approved.
Okay.
It's now time to move, and you're like, how do I settle? Like, is my proof of funds enough?
Okay.
Like, where should I live? What should I do for work?
Okay.
And then if you're in Canada and wondering, how do I up my career? We'll try to ask questions in these 4 categories so that someone can get something out of this.
Okay.
Okay. So let's start with people who are like, okay, Tunde, you rated Canada 10.
Yeah.
I want to come and join you. Eat this honey that you're eating too.
Yes.
What do I do to start my process to come into Canada?
So it depends. It either come as a student or you come as a PR, right? So if you're going to come as a student, you need money, right? Schooling in Canada is not cheap. It's quite expensive, right? If you're going to come as a PR as well, it's also not cheap. However, coming to to Canada as a student is quicker than coming to Canada as a permanent resident, because with permanent residency it takes a longer while. For students, you could just go online and get an admission from a school in Canada, right? But the process in itself is about, I think, 3 months or thereabout. And then
3 months?
Yeah.
So my process took like 7-8 months.
I know.
So you see, I guess it just differs, right?
I know, exactly. And then with PR it's 6 months, right? So it depends on where you stand and what you really want to do for yourself, and looking at how much you have as a person. And okay, do I want to come as a student? Do I have a family that I have to come with? Am I coming as a single person? You have to put all that into consideration, right, before you make that decision, right?
So putting all things together. So Tunde and I both actually came to Canada as students,
yeah.
and now we both have our permanent residency.
Yep.
And I'm sure you've talked to a whole lot of people, because if you don't know, Tunde's Twitter following is huge, and
not that much.
Stop. And he gives like nuggets and information on how to come to Canada, if you're in this certain profession, what to do, what to learn. So I'm sure you've gotten like a million messages.
It's overwhelming.
I empathize, and I'm sure you've also seen people who come straight as a permanent resident from Nigeria.
Yes.
What would you say is better, coming as a student and doing the process, or just coming straight as a permanent resident?
I'll say it depends, right? But if I'm being honest, I'll say coming to Canada as a student.
Been saying it.
And this is it. You see, I've found that people who come as permanent residents, in the long run, you find most of them going back to school, or you find that most of them don't get job that they want immediately. And this is why. You see, Canada is a selfish country, in the sense that Canada looks out for its own in the sense that people who have school here, people who have certifications here, people who have educational qualifications here in Canada, right? So that's why you see somebody coming from the UK and is already accredited as a HR person in the UK, but they are trying to get accredited here in Canada as a human resources professional. Why? Because Canada doesn't really give a damn. Forgive my word.
It doesn't.
It doesn't really give a damn, regardless of whatever level of education you already have, right? So I would say, yes, they both have their pros and cons, but in the long run, being here as a student actually helps and favors you, because by the time you're done with school, you have something that is Canada related. You have the password, to show to recruiters and organizations who are hiring. So yes, if I'm being biased, maybe I'm being biased.
I don't think you're being biased.
If I'm being biased,
if you have the time and the money, I think coming as a student, because we also talk about the co-ops in school.
Yes.
Because getting a job straight up from Nigeria in your field, it's very hard. Except you're like top, or you're in a niche industry, it's really hard to get a job straight up.
Right?
Which is tech.
So if you're outside tech, it's very hard.
And then there's so many doctors, and like your doctor, whatever, doesn't really account for this here. So all of that is something to put into consideration when you're moving in. And if you can, because it's cheaper tuition as a PR. If you want to get your PR, but also apply to school immediately you're coming, better for you, because then you get to do your co-op and then get into industry, and then that way you try to move in that way. Another big topic, Tunde, is people have like said, okay, you know what, great, I've decided I'm moving to Canada, maybe I'm coming as a student. How do I apply? Because I've seen a lot of people being due by agents, and I think you applied by yourself. I applied by myself. What would be your advice to saying, hey, this is how to do it? Like really quickly.
I would say first is to know what province you want to school in. And I've shared a lot of information about all the schools in Canada, the school list of all the schools in Canada. I've actually shared that kind of information. So first is to know what province I want to go to. Okay, say for instance, I take myself as an example. I want to go to Ontario. Why? Because maybe I know 1 or 2 people in Ontario, who are living there, just so that I can be close to people who I know, right? So I look for schools in Ontario, and then I streamline it to schools who are actually offering the course I want. Okay, for instance, my background is human resources. I look for schools who are offering human resources. Okay, and then I go...
And that's super Google searches.
Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, yes. Why? Because Canada has all data and information out there. It's data-driven. The country itself is data-driven, right? It even boils down to the point where one website actually accounts for everything in Canada. You know, you can do your taxes, you can do everything on one website. Immigration, exactly. You know, so the country itself is data driven. So anything you want, any information you want, you can always get it online. So I streamline it down to that, you know, field and that course. And the next thing is to look for how to contact the school.
Yeah.
And many of them have their website. Another thing, it's a progressive environment.
Yes.
You know, so everybody has their website out there and they have contact information. And trust me, the turnaround time for responses for many of these schools is about, say, give it 5 days, you get your response back, your reply back. Any question, anything you want to know, if
they always reply.
They always respond to you. Right.
And if so, you email admissions at whatever the school is, and they don't get back to you, CC the international center.
They would respond.
Somebody would respond to you.
Exactly.
And when I remember I was in Nigeria, I was working, I was doing my NYSC. If you're Nigerian, do you understand what that is? And so what I did sometimes on the Friday, I'll just block out time and call these schools, because sometimes if you want information immediately,
you call.
You just call straight up.
Yeah.
Just know the time of the day and then just call and just ask you, and they will answer you.
Exactly.
And then you get your information that way.
Exactly.
So someone wants to know their opinion on like fraudulent agents or all the immigration lawyers that are out there.
Out there, wait, in Canada or in Nigeria?
You can answer that both ways.
Okay, so I would say this is it. If you're going to go with any agent, make sure they're licensed, right? Like, we have so many people, you know, standing as agents in Nigeria that don't even know, they've not actually been outside the shores of Nigeria itself. That's not a bad thing. However, many of them actually get this information online themselves. These are things you can do yourself. Guess what? If you can go through the doors of a university for 4 years, you know, 4 years end to end, you've done researches, right, in school, you've done project work, you've done assignments, and you cannot research how to do something for yourself, or how to, you know, a simple, well, I wouldn't say simple, but a robust immigration process, then I don't know. You know, I don't know.
No, you can really do it. So I think there's a website that shows you where you can go check if your agent and your lawyer is actually licensed.
Exactly.
So if you literally this Google search, licensed immigration consultants and immigration lawyers in Canada.
Yeah.
No matter what country they are in, if they're licensed, they have a number.
Exactly.
If your person, Mr. Bola, whatever, does not have a number, do not give your money.
And they'll tell you this. They'll say, oh, but we help this person, we help that person. Yes. How many people in how many... Show me the data. How many people has come to your door? How many people has actually gotten that visa?
Yeah.
You know, what's the success rate, right? Many of them will just say, oh, we helped this person last week. Out of how many people? Maybe like out of 1,000 people, one person or two people get the visas. And then they keep, you know, luring people, getting people's money. I feel it's a DIY process. It's something you can do by yourself. And if you can find, sorry to cut you, if you can find licensed immigration consultants from here in Canada, then it's the best.
Okay. But I really advise that you don't need them, especially if your process is simple. If you're coming alone, if you're under the age of 30, give or take, like you're still young, like you don't need an immigration consultant. People who need immigration consultants are people who have maybe marital issues or they're bringing kids, and then there's different like nuances to the application. That's the only time you should be using agents or lawyers, really.
Exactly.
Okay. So now let's talk about people who have now done this first step. They figured out how to apply. They probably got an admission, or they're in the pool for their permanent residency.
Okay.
What is the advice you have for people who are now like, okay, this looks like it's coming, but I don't know yet. What should they be doing in that time to make sure they land right and like?
First, try to connect with people who are here, people who you know personally. And make sure to research your field properly. Right. Every field in Canada has one or two expectations. It could be a certification, it could be a qualification, it could be like a 6 months course somewhere, right? Research what your field demands of you to be successful in your field.
Gotcha.
Right? So I'm a human resources person. I'm coming from Nigeria. I already have my PR, or I know that I'm going to have my PR, right? What I should actually be researching is what are the certifications I need in Canada to succeed as a HR person, right? And you need to find out the eligibilities for such certifications. What do I need? What experience do I need? Or do I need to go back to school to get the certification, you know, and all that. So you research your field. be very confident with the information you have, knowing that when you come to Canada, you can start applying those steps and those processes.
Yeah.
Just so that you can ease yourself into the working system.
Okay, that's amazing. That's good advice. But now let's talk about something that people always ask about, and is a reality.
Okay.
Money.
All right.
So I'm now thinking I'm going to Canada for school, or even my PR. I've gotten somewhere. Probably gotten my confirmation of permanent residence, and it's almost time.
Yeah.
Now I have to think, how much would you say an average newcomer would need to like settle for them to say, before my first job or when school starts, before I can actually get work on the side? Like, how much should people be thinking to save and have?
In dollars, to be comfortable, if you're a single person in dollars, I would say don't have anything less than $10,000. In dollars as a permanent resident.
And a single person.
I would say you don't have anything less than $10,000. And this is why. If you don't get a job, you're going to be feeding off that money, right? And before you know it, rent is high, and depending on where you are, rent is high. You have to pay bills. Phone is not is not prepaid here. It's postpaid.
Yes.
You use, then you pay.
Yes.
Right.
So you pay your bill after.
Exactly. The phone bills. If you're driving, there's car insurance.
Why are you driving when you just came? I'm jealous.
Oh yeah. You might
it
want.
Depends on where you live. It depends on where you live. Yeah.
There's car insurance, there are different bills depending on the kind of house you rent. It might be all paid, or you have to pay for hydro, you have to pay for gas, you have to pay for whatnot, right? So I'll say, as a single person, if you are coming, don't have anything less than $10,000 as a permanent resident.
Okay.
If you don't get a job, you are going to feed off that money.
So I guess if you're coming with your spouse, maybe double that.
Oh yeah. If you guys can afford it, maybe double that, or half, 15,000 or something like that, right?
But okay, so what would you now say then is the average time you've seen from someone landing in Canada as a permanent resident to when they actually get a job?
Okay, so now it depends, and it also boils down to what your background and your field is.
Okay.
So Wes did an analysis and a research.
By the way, he's a West ambassador, and that's World Education Services.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So Wes did a research not too long ago, and then from the research we found out that people with tech, they are the ones who are most likely to get the job when they come to Canada.
Okay,
right?
so at this point, this is why I let you guys know that I work for a startup called Black Professionals in Tech Network.
Nice.
That is focused in helping Black people, aka people like us, get their jobs in tech and get up in tech. So these are the kind of associations you want to start reaching out to, or being in networks like that before you land. Because companies want to hire more diverse people. And they want more people in tech. And tech is not only software developers. It's like you could be an HR person.
Exactly. You could be an HR person in tech. You could be a QA person. You could be a business analyst. You could be a security analyst. You could be information technology person. Anything, right? So tech is diverse. However, so people with tech backgrounds get tech jobs more than anybody in other fields and backgrounds, right?
So I guess another thing to be doing while you're waiting is maybe taking a certification that you can speak to in your interviews when you come here that is related to your field, to touch on what you were talking about. Okay. So I guess the next question then is, so I have landed. I'm in Canada. What next?
What next is another thing you want to do is reach out to recruiters.
Okay, so how do I do that?
Oh, well, like I said before, Canada is data driven. The information is out there. A simple Google search will show you the recruiters in your environment, in your city, in your province, right? So for me, the recruiters, I reached out to them in Toronto. There were a couple of them, but one which actually stood out was Procom. So
I remember Procom.
So Procom is a recruiting firm who actually looks out for people, newcomers, immigrants, people in their fields and whatnot. So all you do is walk into their organization, talk to somebody, they review your resume, and then so they have clients. Because they are like vendors who supply resources to those clients, right? Those organizations. So basically, if you have what a particular client is looking for, they supply you to that client, right? And then you go for interviews, and then they review you, they interview you, go through the normal recruitment process, and then if you get chosen, they get a cut right, for supplying you
as a talent.
Exactly,
so
to that client.
Another thing to do while you're in the pool, research recruitment agencies in the place you're going to.
Yeah.
And then look for their contact number and email them, or even just like put a list of addresses, and one day just show up and just say, hey, exactly. I want to talk to this person. And if they say, oh no, you have to send an email, then you go back and send an email.
Exactly.
But no, you miss 100% of shots you don't take. Simple.
Exactly.
So I know a lot of people got their first gigs through recruitment agencies like that. That's another thing to do. What would you now say then? Say maybe I've applied, I'm here in Canada, I've applied to jobs in my field. I didn't study here, I'm not getting anything. I've gone to those recruitment events, nothing. What would you advise someone like that to do in the meantime?
In the meantime, you just have to do something, right? You have to look for something to do.
Use those hands.
You have to look for something. You know, for somebody who is probably skillful or has what's it called now? Has a talent of maybe braiding hairs or making Nigerian food, or you have a community.
Yeah, jollof rice.
You have a community, and people are looking for services, right? There are a lot of single students who will readily buy food, like in bulk, Nigerian food in bulk, right? You know, do something. You know, it could be that side hustle that you're doing. It could be that side job. It could be, you know, whatever it is, you just have to get by. And while you're doing that, you are also actively looking for your jobs, right? And network. It is very important.
So you know that thing to say, Nigeria, job now, who you know.
Exactly.
Here is the same thing too. It's the same thing too. Sliding people's DMs. That's how this is happening, because I slid in his DMs. And introduce yourself. But again, on that note, tell me, because you've done recruiting, you've done HR. Tell me what you've seen fellow Nigerians or newcomers do in their, I'll say, in them trying to slide in people's DMs, recruiters' DMs. What have you seen as epic fails that please don't try that to anybody else?
I feel one of the epic fails is not being professional, right? Say for instance now, I want to look for, say, maybe a senior manager role or a director role, right? And I know there's a VP who's hiring for that role. I'm not going to go to her LinkedIn and say, hi Chioma, I saw you put up this role and I want it. You know, there's a tone and there's a way I'll go about it, right? It's either through a very formal email, right? And you present yourself to be very professional, attaching your resume, attaching your cover letter, giving reasons why you're the best fit for a particular role. You could go as far as checking for opened roles in that organization first, right? And see the qualifications required, see the skills required, see the competencies required. Then you
do your own research.
Exactly, do your own research, put your resume to align with that opening, and then put a cover letter to align with that opening, and then present yourself as the best fit for that. In the sense that, oh, I saw this opening here and I know I'm the best fit, and I'm not sure if there's already a fulfilled person for that, but I believe I stand, you know, the best place to actually be successful in that role. It's as simple as that.
Okay. Yeah. And that totally makes sense. So, but the truth is, like, do your research on the person. Don't like send them a long email like this. It's almost like, think about it as a date.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's like, hi, my name is this, and this is what I do. Then say something about the person. Like, so the person is like, okay, you're talking to me, Janie, because you're not just mass emailing anyone who can help you. You're talking to me, Janie, not because, I saw that you had this and this, and I wanted to then tell them what you need from them in as simple terms as possible. But don't ask for this in one email. Don't say, please come and get me from my house for an interview. Ask them one question, and maybe about something you saw that they wrote. And then get them to talk back to you, and then build a relationship that way. But maybe you don't even, another way to go, you see a job in BMO, for instance. How I do it is, I quickly go through BMO and see who do I know in BMO.
In BMO, exactly.
Before I go reach out to sometimes the recruiters might never email you or see you back. Who do I know in BMO that can tell me how BMO process works? Because before you submit your resume to that company, maybe they like school first before work experience. And if you don't talk to the person who works in that company, you will never know how it works. You will just know that your resume got there and no one ever responded to you. Okay. So I think those are major questions people have asked. Is there anything else I'm probably missing from your questions, guys? Because this is the time you can ask it. And if this has been helpful to you so far, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel for more. So I want to ask Tunde specifically now, so you guys can get to hear his own story. You've lived in Canada 5 years now. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank
you.
I
want you to break it down. What would you say is like a couple pros that you found when living in a country like Canada?
I'll go from the mindset of like an immigrant that's looking for work, or somebody who's trying to, take up their career and all that. I'll say for pros, there are a couple of them, but I'll highlight on some of them. One of them is that there are a lot of initiatives for immigrants. If you don't know, there are a lot of initiatives out there for immigrants. There are a lot of NGOs who are trying to key into that aspect of helping immigrants to get jobs.
Yes.
Right. So yeah,
some of them are
access,
employment.
Yeah,
there's
access employment. Yes, exactly. Even West is even trying as much as possible to
do that.
Share a lot of information about those kind of organizations who actually help immigrants and even as far as refugees, right? So first is that kind of pro, to know that there are actually organizations who are helping or who are trying to help you, who there are platforms to actually help you succeed, actually help you get a job, actually help you move your career forward in Canada, right? So that's one of the pros. I think another thing is working with industry experts. So say for instance, fortunately for you, you get a job in Canada. Something you should know is that you're going to be with industry experts. Experts, right? You're going to be with people who are like in the top of of whatever it is they are in the field, right? Say for instance, I take myself as an example. I'm working in the tech space. I've been fortunate to meet with people who are very diversified. I've been fortunate to meet with people who are very good at what they do. I've been fortunate to meet with people who are well recognized in North America, right? Sharing knowledge with these people and talking with them, it also puts you in a position to learn, right? It puts you in a position to gain and understand how things work, really. So that's another good pro.
So don't come from Nigeria and only talk to Nigerians pretty much at work. I will just sit at your desk and do your job and check out.
Be open-minded, right?
So
be open-minded.
The fact that you've gotten in the door doesn't mean you're going to keep you. You gotta still network your way, find out who the decision maker is, and learn from them. Pretty much. But then there's another level to that. There's there's the mentorship level where I'm new. I'm still learning this Canada thing. I'm still learning my job. But I need somebody who's maybe Canadian, maybe not, but who has walked this path before and can tell me this is the bomb to expect, this is something to not do. How do you go about finding a mentor? Because I know you've talked about it a lot.
Yes. So for me, I would say I have two mentors, right? One of them is Nigerian, one of them is not.
Okay.
Right? And how did I find them? In my workplace, right? It's as simple as that. So this is it. There are people you've worked with before who have seen how you work. There are people who value you as a person. There are people who know what you're competent of, right? And it doesn't just start with be my mentor. I've worked with these people. They've seen how I work. They've referred me for awards in the organization, right? And we don't even work in the same closed unit. They're in other units. That's how funny it is.
Wow.
But after a couple of conversations, and I see that okay, this person can actually stand as a mentor. You just formalize it, right? And this is how you do it. You just tell the person, I've worked with you. You know me very much. You've advised me in places you don't even know. I've succeeded in this role in many aspects that you've advised me in this so and so, and I think you will actually be a very good mentor for me.
Yes.
Right. And that way you make it formal, and it gets to a point where they've known you, they've worked with you, they've come to really like you, and they cannot say no.
So I like that part. They've known you, they've come to really know how you work, they like you, and then they can't say no.
Yes.
The mistake a lot of us make, to be honest, is that we start with asking, can you be my mentor? I'm just like, what is all this? Don't I look busy? So, and maybe not even me. And I've made that mistake too in the past, to be honest. And the person's like, people are like, I have things to do. I don't know you. Why should I help you? But if you had a relationship where you've worked together, you've probably exceeded expectations with them or somebody else that they know really closely. Then they're like, okay, maybe this is somebody I want to put on my way. Because then they start to feel a sense of responsibility for your own growth in that way.
Exactly.
Okay, so if this has been helpful, I want you to put Canada in that chat box. So let me know who is actually in the conversation. And if we've not answered your questions, please leave them right now because we'd love to answer them. So today you've spoken about a couple pros. Would you ever move back to Nigeria?
Wow.
I know. I told him I'm just going to hit him with some questions.
That came with a huge surprise. Will I ever move back to Nigeria? Maybe. I would say maybe. I wouldn't say no, but I would say maybe. And this is it. See, the truth is, if Nigeria cannot become Canada next year, it can become Canada in 2 years. It cannot become Canada in 3 years. We have to be honest with ourselves.
Maybe 10.
But it can become Canada maybe in 10 years.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm still young, right? In 10 years, I can decide if Nigeria is good to move back to Nigeria, right? But I have not totally shut it out from my ideas or ideologies to say, oh, I'm never going back to Nigeria. No. If Nigeria becomes what we want it to become, maybe the infrastructure might not be there, but it might just be the systems working, right? Yeah, I'm open to it, honestly. I am open to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess the next part is let's talk about cons, because I share that sentiment with you about Nigeria. Like I'm a proud Nigerian.
Yeah.
Sometimes I tell people I'm Ghanaian, but who's asking? I'm a proud Nigerian, and I honestly think I might move back someday. But right now, Canada feels good, and the code is not that bad, you know? It's the kind of money you make that the code will be like, bring it on.
Exactly, it isn't. The code is not that bad. Maybe the snow, but the code itself is not that bad. It's
not that bad. We're doing it. Okay, so I guess then the next part will be, let's talk about cons. Things that you have gone through that you're like, who sent me? Like, why am I doing this?
Okay, I think one of the cons is for someone who comes to Canada and they don't get a job immediately, then you get a gap on your resume. Okay, say for instance, I landed Canada in January and up until June, I'm still actively searching. You know, there's a gap on that resume and people want to know what you were doing in June. You're not in school, so what are you doing, right? So it becomes a question for some people, right? And that gap is one of the cons that I know. And secondly is the shock. There's this culture shock that comes in, like it just comes to you like, whoa.
Wait, you know what? Let's talk about that gap first, and then we'll talk about cultural shock. Because I've recruited a couple people when I worked at a tech consulting firm.
Okay.
But things to do to fill that gap. Maybe this will help you.
Okay.
Look for places to volunteer at. In jobs you can do.
Exactly.
Are you a member of your church? Volunteer there, put it on your resume. There's conferences around the city, like my company BP10 does Be Future.
Yeah.
Volunteer in that time.
Yeah.
Work in the store, but ask them to give you managerial type roles to try, even though you're cashier.
Exactly.
Because then you can put the things you've done on that resume and the results for that gap time. Don't just sit at home.
That's true.
Or start a business, give it a name, and give yourself business goals. Like say for me, even though I wanted, like I started a company where I made whipped butter.
Okay.
I put it on my resume and said I grew the business to this amount of revenue. I got this amount in profitable loss. And I taught myself marketing strategies because I was in digital marketing then to increase my following by this amount. Give yourself something to do to fill that gap. But also on that part, we have a question here, and I'll get into the questions in the chat very soon. People who take on survival jobs to fit that gap. Say you just come to Canada, you're working in a factory like you did. I know you shared that with me earlier on. You had a timeline because you knew that you were trying to go to school in 4 months.
Yeah.
But say I'm working in a job that is not my field. But how long should I stay? Or what should I tell myself is my timeline to get out of that, to actually start focusing on my career?
I feel if I come to Canada as a permanent resident and I haven't gotten the job I wanted in 5 months, right, then I need to start reviewing my goals and what I'm really doing, because if in 5 months I haven't gotten the job, there's a probability in 10 months I won't get the job. So it's either I go back to school here in Canada, and it's good to know that as a permanent resident, your school fees is half that of international students, right? And you don't even have to go to school for a BSc, postgraduate, whatever. You could actually just do like a short-term course. It could be a 3 months course, it could be a 6 months course, right? And you just have to start aligning that goals, and you have to be realistic with yourself. If in 5 months I myself, Tunde, haven't gotten the job, I either go back to school, right? Or I do things differently.
Yes. And then it's almost like I've given myself 5 months to do this job, and sometimes it helps to save to send or actually keep his money amount, like a target. So my goal, for instance, is I'm going to do this job until I save 5K, and then I will do this. But while I'm doing this job, I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to network with people.
I'm going to do some online courses.
To get me ready for that job I need after the 5 months. And so it honestly depends on you, your timeline, what you need money for, when you need your career to start. I guess that I'll say. Okay. So you talked about the other con being culture shock.
Yes.
So how did you navigate that?
I think for me it was when I deferred my admission, right? After I deferred my admission, I worked, in factory and all that. So I was able to meet with people who are not Nigerians, right? So I had an Asian Canadian friend, and then I had a Jamaican friend, and then I had a Canadian friend. So those people actually helped me to navigate the system. They actually taught me about the Canadian way of life, right? So I got to know more about Canada through those people. Shout out to them, thanks to them. So that way, it actually kind of helped me break some barrier.
Yes,
right?
Same. I was really blessed to have gone to school first,
Nice.
and then I was like the only black girl, to be honest, in my class, which comes with a lot because people will touch your hair, they'll do your skin like this.
Exactly.
But you will say some things in a way that is not Canadian. For instance, Nigerians will say this word omniscience. Canadians will say omniscient. So, and when I say omniscient in class, people will laugh, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
But I'll be like, really? I'm sure I'm smarter than you guys.
Yeah.
However, now that I'm in the industry, I'm really grateful that I said omniscient in school.
Yeah.
That didn't work in front of boards.
Yeah.
Things like that. So and also immersing yourself in groups of multicultural people.
Exactly. That also
Laugh at me,
yeah.
say,
yeah.
oh, my jollof rice smells a certain way as a business. But I will learn about you and you will learn about me.
Yes.
Because and then that way it helps you
Yes.
actually settle better in Canada.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that actually helped the culture shock and all that. So you begin to know more about the system, you begin to navigate, life and everything. And in school then too, I think I had a particular encounter with one of my lecturers because he put me in a group with other Nigerians. So he actually put us in the. So he put.
He made Nigerians together.
Yeah, Nigerians together, Indians together, and Canadians together. And
Jesus.
then I brought it up in class. I was like, I love my people. I want to be with my people. However, you have to understand that we're all here to learn. And when we begin to open ourselves to other people and become more diversified in those groups, then we learn better, right? The way I'm going to do something with a Nigerian will be different from the way I'm going to do with an Indian or with a Turkish or whatnot, right? So I would advise that you actually spread us so you don't just say, oh, these people will get used to themselves, because we're getting ourselves ready for what is out there.
I literally just came from a place with millions of
Exactly.
Nigerians.
I literally just came with millions of Nigeria, and now you're ballparking us into no. You have to kind of.
Who's even in this class?
And he wasn't happy with me that day, and he actually told me to leave that class. Whatever. I'm a Nigerian guy. I don't care. I left the class, and
so lesson is don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Speak out.
Okay.
And I actually joined a group later, which wasn't the group with the Nigerians anyway. So, and I learned better. And see, don't get me wrong. If we are together, we learn more. We learn better with each other. But you're in a different place. You're trying to get yourself ready for what's out there. It's better. It's just better to just be diversified, learn from different people. And the topic that we needed to talk about then was really about something that was really technical, and it was kind of sensitive, and you wouldn't want to talk about it with people who you already have the same ideas and background with.
Yes,
why not
you
share
look at it the same way.
Why not learn from other people to see what they're actually thinking about?
That totally makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So are there any other cons you can think of right now?
Cons. There are not a lot of us. So that's another con. Many people have this mindset that, oh, Nigerians are moving to Canada, Nigerians are flooding to Canada. It's a lie. We're not so much. From the last census, 2016, it was just about 58,000 Nigerians that were counted in Canada. Yes.
That's not a lot to me.
It's not a lot. 58,000
No,
compared to 32 million Canadians or thereabouts.
No, that's Nigeria is one country in Africa. But this is what blows my mind. I was looking at a CIC report of immigration from last year.
Yeah.
And I think it was the top 20 countries that had the immigrants from. Nigeria was the only African country that stood up on that list. And I'm like, yay!
Yeah.
But not that many.
So that's one of the cons, because you don't see a lot of people who actually not like look like you, but think like you, talk like you, relate like you, because we are a different kind of people, right? And so that's one of the cons. You have to really go to churches or mosque or all that
Community associations
to meet Nigerians, and what other cons can I think of right now? I think another cons is navigating through your career life. If you don't, I think we already spoke about that anyways. If you don't get a job immediately, if you come as a permanent resident.
Yep.
Right. So I don't know. Are there other questions?
So we're now looking at the live chat to make sure we get your questions in. Okay. So if you did send a question, thank you so much. I hope you guys are subscribed, and I hope we've been helping you. Okay, Nigeria, Canada girl, thank you. I see you, sis. I hope we've answered your question earlier on. So people are asking about if, as an MSc student in the UK planning to move to Canada for a PhD, like what is a good job to do it? Or how is it a good way to go about it? So
first, what's your field? What MSc are you studying in the UK? I've said it before, Canada is very data driven. Canada has a lot of information online. The good way to go about it is what province you want to go. First of all, look at the schools in those provinces. Check what school is offering whatever you are doing, like the masters you're doing. And another thing is there are a lot of funded scholarships for international students in Canada. You know, if you can apply for those scholarships, you know, try the scholarship route first. You know, for somebody who's coming for PhD, I know somebody in, I think it's in Newfoundland or so, or one of those places, who's actually doing PhD self-funded, you know, scholarship and all that. So research what school, research the province.
So for your PhD specifically,
yeah,
research publicly funded PhD programs.
Exactly.
Because the way it works here is you have to reach out to the professor.
You have to,
who is doing the research in your field. And private schools, you will pay for your PhD. But if it's a publicly funded PhD, again, your field first, your province, but then look for your publicly funded school. Reach out to the professor and send a professional email.
Exactly.
To the person. Remember we talked about the same way you go about finding a mentor. It's a date. It's a dance. It's like you take the step, I take the step. Tell me what I need. But be professional about it. And if you're not sure, ask your friends. Say, if you read this, would you give me a reply?
Exactly.
And I promise you would get the answer. It doesn't have to be from a recruiter or from the school. You will know from your friends.
Have another eye review, whatever personal statement you're going to submit, whatever you know application you're going to submit. Have another friend or another eye review it. It could be somebody from, it could be a co-worker, right? Let them review it for you and tell you if it's good to go or not. Okay.
So another person is asking something a little bit more personal, but I think today we'll be able to answer.
Oh, what did they say?
Talking about ties to Canada. Were you married before you applied to come to Canada, or was it after?
No, I was single. I was as single as anything.
Single and as factory working as possible.
Yes. I came, you know, alone as a student, and I came alone, and after school, I also planned, and my wife and I, so she got admission and she got a student visa, and then I went back home, we got married, and we came back together.
So I've seen that in some cases it's easier for people to come as individuals than it is as a spouse, because then even with the PR process, it's you have to attach the person's degree and all of that. I've talked about like my own PR process. I literally filled my forms on my YouTube channel. The video is somewhere there. Go look at it. So you can see everything about how to fill your form, how I got called, how I got my points, and then that explains it in detail. So you guys check that video out. Okay, so someone's talking about sorry, I'm trying to understand this. You have an MSc and you want to know if it's best to do an academic or general for your PhD or PR. Okay. Two separate things.
Two separate things,
If you're trying to go for a school degree, master's, PhD, postgraduate, you're definitely doing the IELTS academic. If the school and the program require it. Most schools do, some don't. I remember doing my IELTS to find out that they didn't need it after.
Oh, really?
Because I was instructed in English in Nigeria. So they said it on the thing, but when I submitted my transcripts at the time and they saw that it was all English courses,
they said it wasn't necessary.
It wasn't necessary. However, if you're coming to your peer, they don't care if you're the Queen of England. You're the one that wrote the English.
Americans write
British
IELTS
people,
to move.
You have to write IELTS. We both have to do IELTS.
But
I used to have a boss who was British, and he's like, "Dang it! I can't believe I'm going to write this thing." I'm like, "Join us and write it." So that for your PR, you have to write your IELTS, and that will be general. Question answered. Someone has a computing background, and he wants to deviate to HR. More like transition, not deviate. What certification in Canada do we advise that he pursues?
Okay, so it depends. So HRPA is one of the bodies who accredits or certifies professionals in human resources in Canada. So I advise you first of all go to the hrpa.ca website, hrpa.ca. So HRPA has a lot of certifications. You have the CHRP, you have the CHRL, you know, and whatnot. CHRP is like the entry level, and people who already have about 2 years experience in HR, you know, either 2 years experience or you school in Canada, you know, or you bring this certain background of academic qualification in HR, and then you can qualify for CHRP. CHRL, you must have been doing some form of leadership in HR, you know, you work on projects, you work on policies, and then you can qualify for CHRL. So most times CHRP is the best route to start with. However, for somebody who's trying to deviate into HR and wants to know the certification, I would say go to hrpa.ca, check that website. Based on what you have, based on your qualification, your background, then you see where you fall under, and then you can also start with the application. But then this person said he has a computing background.
Yes.
So you have a computing background, you're looking to switch to HR. I don't know why, but if I were you, I have a computing background. I don't know what computing background you have, and I'm sure you're talking about IT. I'm coming to Canada with my IT. Trust me.
I don't agree because I did my IT degree. So
Yeah.
honestly, I think you can make this, maybe not the same, but close enough amount of money, but also a career fulfillment at the edge of IT. Because I have an IT degree from Nigeria.
Yeah.
I came to Canada to start marketing and advertising.
Oh, nice.
And then my master's was in innovation management.
Oh, nice.
So I play in the tech space where I talk about like the impact of business and tech coming together.
Nice.
So if software developers are talking, you understand
You
it.
understand it.
But the truth is that person who can understand tech speak and communicate it to business,
Yes.
and business speak, communicate to
To tech.
you are golden.
Yeah, you are.
Okay,
You are.
so you might be able to do HR if you want to actually like transition. So,
Well, it's good.
but it's good to have both.
Depends.
It's good to have both.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
on his note, there's a high rise. So Canada, because we did research from BPTN,
Oh, yeah?
actually had way more tech jobs than Seattle,
Yes,
Silicon
yes,
Valley,
yes.
New
I
York,
saw
and
that.
somewhere combined.
I saw that.
So
yeah.
when it comes to tech jobs right now, Toronto especially, not just
Yeah,
Canada, Toronto
especially.
is where
Tech
it's
hub.
at. It's a
Yeah.
tech hub.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we should move on just because of time.
Okay.
People have asked about tips for moving to the UK to Canada.
Okay.
And so similar to that question before, it's not so much difference. You come as a student, come as a PR,
Yeah.
and then the process is usually the same.
Yeah.
And your degrees are your degrees.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Which other questions can we answer real quick? Someone asked about if a GRE is required for masters along with IELTS.
So some schools require GRE, some schools don't. I've once shared this thread of schools that don't require GRE in Canada, but IELTS specifically for schools, I would say no, and this is why. You see, most schools put it out there as a requirement. But then, if you submit an IELTS exemption letter to them, they waive that IELTS because you are from an English-speaking country. Your schooling has been in English. Yes,
Okay.
your schooling has been in English. So my wife specifically, when she came to Canada, her course required IELTS, but she submitted an IELTS exemption
Played
letter.
myself. So I should have gotten my money back.
Oh yeah. So for schooling especially,
knowledge.
yes, those schools put it out there that IELTS is part of the requirements, but you can submit an IELTS exemption letter and they waive it. But for PR, it is mandatory. You cannot waive IELTS for permanent residency.
Everybody has to write it. So I guess that answers the next question. And again, if you're the Queen of England, her great-grandfather, you brought dictionary, you are writing IELTS.
You have to write it.
I think it's a money scam, but they didn't ask me. So that's okay. And TT, my girl, asked, for a new PR holder, how should we select the province we want to settle down in? And I guess second part question, is it advisable to move with your whole family, or you first go and then bring your family?
Our advice, okay, so I didn't move first with my whole family, right? And a lot of people didn't do that as well. But looking back and looking at the process now, things are changing, the dynamics is different. I would say move with your whole family, right? First, the long distance thing, that will first of all come into play. You are here trying to navigate your career path, and if it doesn't kick off immediately, you have to be doing, menial jobs and if you have a partner, it helps. If you have somebody here with you where you can work together, navigate that system together, it will really help. So if you have a family, come with your family. You don't know what's going to happen if you get here and you're trying to apply for them. Things might change, liberal might get out of power by the time you're here, and conservative might come and just dabaru everything. So advice, come with your family.
This is the time.
Yeah,
and I guess on the part of choosing the province you want to settle, I think the best way is just to look for provinces that have more opportunities in your field.
Yes, that boils down to it.
So, because there's a way you can look at it. Tech jobs in Toronto.
Yes.
Tech jobs in Newfoundland.
Thank you very much. Human resources job in Manitoba.
And then you can look at the salary. There's sites like Indeed, PayScale, Glassdoor,
Monster,
LinkedIn. All these sites, Monster, would help you know. You can look at the number of jobs available.
Exactly.
Look at the average salary and compare to cost of living, say rent.
Exactly.
And then that would help you decide on what province to settle in when you first come. And on the topic of moving with family, I think you pretty much nailed that on that part.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So I want to actually wrap this up just because of time. Are there any last words you have to share with people today?
I would say a a lot of people out there are saying, oh, why is everybody talking about Canada? Why are everybody telling people to move to Canada? We're not telling people to move to Canada. Canada is not paying anybody to, but you can't stop people for wanting to move to Canada. So what we're trying to do is to ease the transition,
yes.
right? Give us much information as possible, because a lot of us are victims of maybe, not having enough information when we moved here or before we moved here, so we could have done things differently, and that's what we're trying to do right now.
AKA collect my IELTS money back. I didn't even know that was a thing. I'm still cheers.
Yeah. So I think basically that's the last words, and
okay.
we should try as much as possible to form communities.
Stay connected.
Stay connected.
And I know another thing that I saw growing up is a lot of people, when they do something similar, they think they're competitors. No, I think we're allies. Like when I found Tunde's Twitter, and then there's also Niger Canada girl. I remember she told me, she watched my videos coming to Canada. And I found Tunde's Twitter where I learned a whole lot of things. Why can't we come together and share more information and help more people and expand our reach? And that's what this channel is about. So JD Booz is me, I'm the brand, but however, I'm in the business of helping you thrive as a newcomer in Canada. But not only that, as a young professional, as a female entrepreneur, we need to help each other do better. And that's what I'm just here to do. Okay. And so Tunde as well, his handle is Tunde Tash on Twitter, and that's where he's most active on. He's very famous for his threads on how-tos. Tunde, I'm telling you, like, I remember in the past couple months, my sister has sent it to me on 3 different Nigerian groups where, like, someone has put a screenshot of Tunde's threads. So that's how, like, your messaging is, like, propagating, because people are benefiting from his knowledge and his research. And he's also a West ambassador. So if you have questions, he might not answer, it depends. If
I might not, because West has a lot of FAQs.
Exactly. He might point you to the West's website. But I just really want to say thank you so much, Tunde, for, like, sharing your knowledge and your platform, and just being an all-around inspiration and amazing person. And thank you guys so much for joining today. Like, you're the reason we do this. We just want to help each other do better. But if there's anything you want to learn, please email byeyenaj@gmail.com, byeyenaj@gmail.com. And I'll see you later on my next videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.
Bye, guys.